Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about how to make your time in Path of Exile 2 reward you with more income, better items, and things like that. Much like you guys, I did not play much of Path of Exile 1, I played Path of Exile 2. If you did play Path of Exile 1, I assure you that many of you guys actually probably didn't understand some key elements of the game that actually help you get way more income out of the game. So when I started playing the game, I noticed many other people were getting much better drops than me, they were getting more drops, and by a month into the game I noticed other people were already kind of finishing up and getting the best items for their characters, whereas I was barely really making any progress. So I decided to kind of look into what is going on and why is that. So of course we have increased rarity of items. Now, what is item rarity? Item rarity affects all your loot drops. This affects gold, armor, weapons, rings, amulets, currency, everything that I didn't mention here. The general idea is that the higher your item rarity, the more valuable something that drops on the ground will be. So item rarity kind of got a nasty reputation on the forums and YouTube and all that because everyone said that item rarity is so broken, it's so overpowered, and that everyone needs to stack it to 9 billion quadrillion % in order to get any items. That's not true, and I will be getting into that later, but for now let's read what item rarity actually says. Items can be normal, magic, blue, or normal, magic, rare, unique. Item classes which do not have these rarities, such as currency, have individual rarity for each item. So what is currency? Currency is of course these things right here. Orbs of transmutation, orbs of augmentation, orbs of alchemy, etc, etc, etc. You're probably most interested in exalted orbs and divine orbs. I assure you that item rarity does in fact affect currency drop. Although the tooltip is a little bit ambiguous, currency is affected by item rarity. Now, for those of you guys watching this video, I'm not going to take this short. I'm not going to try to make this quick and easy or anything like that. Put me on the background, put me on your other monitor, just listen along, just use me as a podcast or stuff like that. It's kind of important for me that I go over all of this so I can help new players actually understand what's happening in the game right now. Because for people like me, I didn't really understand what was happening. I didn't really understand how other people were like literally getting to endgame perfect items with like 2,000 exalted in their inventory like a couple weeks in the season, and I'm sitting over here like, oh boy, 3 exalted, I'm rich. So I will be taking all my time to explain all of this in deep detail. I will be trying to, of course, I'll try to make this as interesting as I can. But you know, I do unfortunately need to take my time with all this, so you gotta bear with me on this one, okay? Please make sure to like and subscribe if you like this stuff. Okay. Currency is affected by item rarity. This means that when you get a currency drop, and of course do like and subscribe. I do mean that. It really helps the algorithm, and which, you know, helps me do more videos like this, etc. This means that when you get a currency drop, it'll be of a higher quality the more item rarity you have. In other words, instead of getting spammed with orbs of transmutation or augmentation, you will get exalted orbs or divine orbs. Yes, that means when you do get a drop and it turns into an orb of transmutation, that drop could have been an exalted orb if you had enough item rarity. Now I will be going to the diminishing returns again, and I will be going to those things later on, but it's important to note that for you guys that yes, you understand these orbs of augmentation could have been an exalted orb if you had more item rarity. Gold is affected by item rarity. Yes, that's true. Less gold will drop, and the gold that does drop will drop in much higher amounts with item rarity. Gold drops don't have to be gold drops. They could be more useful items. They could be any other item than gold. When you have lots of item rarity, this means that a drop that could have been gold is converted into a more useful item, such as an exalted or a rare item. Yes, the more item rarity you have, whether or not item rarity affects quantity is a bit debatable. I looked up a lot of videos. I did lots of I don't want to call it investigatory work. I looked up a lot of different debates and things like that. It doesn't seem to me that item rarity directly affects the quantity, but it does very much appear to affect the quantity, because instead of getting drops of like 50 gold or 60 gold, you will instead get an exalted orb. So yes, item rarity very much will make you feel like you're getting significantly more items, because you're not going to be getting these useless items. You're going to be getting extremely powerful items that are very, very good. You will, of course, even though you're getting less gold drops and that gold is becoming things like exalted orbs, You will, of course, be generating more gold overall, because instead of getting a gold drop for 100, you'll get a gold drop for 5,000. Okay. Item rarity does not seem to affect quantity, or maybe it does. I personally don't think it does, but maybe it does. I don't know. But it will dramatically improve the good items that you see dropping. As I mentioned above, the higher your item rarity, the lower the odds of dropping useless stuff that nobody wants. Less gold, less useless orbs, and more exalted orbs. Okay, and I need to emphasize this as well. Base types below your level will drop significantly less with higher rarity. This means you will get significantly less basic items, less advanced items, and more expert items. So far as rings, you will get less iron rings and more prismatic rings, as an example. So if we look into here, do I have an iron ring? Iron ring gives you 1 to 4 physical damage to attacks. By high level, totally useless. By high level, you'd probably want things like gold rings, increasing the item rarity. You'd probably want things like sapphire rings, giving you cold resistance. The more item rarity, the higher the quality of the base item that will drop. In addition to that, the higher the item rarity, the less, as of right now, you can have a normal cultist great hammer, an advanced cultist great hammer, or an expert cultist great hammer. The higher your item rarity, the higher the chances you have of rolling up these expert cultist great hammers. And that's just one item. Obviously, different items can be used like that. Let me turn off whispers here for a second. I don't want to do trading in this video. So, again, while it won't directly increase the quantity of your drops, you will be getting significantly less useless drops that you don't care about, and if you're using a loot filter, those drops won't even be showing up anyway, so it will definitely feel like you're dropping more items. Let me capitalize this. Item tier seems unaffected by item rarity past the initial 100%. This one doesn't seem to have a lot of data on it, but it does seem to track. Now, item tier is when you get a drop on the ground, and it will say, well, expert cultist great hammer, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Tier 5 is the highest, not tier 1. The higher the tier, the better the modifiers it will roll. Item tiers affect the base strength of the item modifiers when the item is identified, but has no effect on further changes to the item. So adding more modifiers through exalts or things like that will not affect a tiered item. It also was recently changed to much more heavily affect what types of modifiers roll on the item, reducing the chance of light radius. Let me mute my in-game sound for a second. Okay. This means you want to get to at least about 100% item rarity to ensure that you're getting the most drops of the higher tiers. Now, tier items have a very low drop chance by default. Very rare that you're going to see tier 5s. You might see some tier 2s, 3s, and 4s more often, but it's highly unlikely you're going to see much. The devs did make it, once again, in a recent change, higher tier items, like a tier 5 item. If it was a weapon, it was a much higher chance of rolling things like attack speed, of rolling things like large physical damage modifiers, things like that. So picking up these higher tier weapons will generally be much more useful, whereas untiered items will generally kind of be, well, useless. Once you kind of get to the end game, untiered things are kind of not even worth picking up anymore due to the extremely low chance they have of even being good in the first place. Rarity has diminishing returns somewhere around 100%. If I was a developer, I would probably put it at 100%. That's just a good clean number. So I suspect, yes, above 100%, you have diminishing returns. Now, if I was to go into paint, so like, what's the right way to describe this? If, let's say this is loot quality, I'm going to mark this as quality, and this is how much rarity you have. So here's your quality, here's your rarity. It seems that you hit about 100, so we're going to call this 100. And then once you do from there, it seems to keep increasing, but go about like that. So in other words, don't just get to 100% item rarity and stop. It will continue to be better and better and better, but it will start hitting heavily diminishing returns after that. But I will go into why, even with that in mind, that you can get your item rarity into absolutely absurd amounts. This is important to note, as it means rolling less than 100% rarity means you're just cheating yourself out of item drops. That's right. If you get to at least 100% rarity, you are literally doubling your quality of item drops. If you are running maps without 100% rarity, you might as well just stop playing this game. I mean that in a mean way. Just don't even queue for maps without 100% rarity. When I started queuing maps with 100% rarity, I started to notice to myself, oh, yeah, you don't get like 3 exalted per day. You get like 5 to 10 per map. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference right there. Item rarity is don't think of it as like 100% equals double. 100% seems way more than double because you're getting less gold drops, which you convert into orbs, and those orbs are converting into higher tierity orbs. You're getting less crap rings, you're getting more good rings. So don't think of it as, oh my god, I'm just getting 100% more items. That's not that big a deal. Double's not that big. It's a lot more than double. Through all the different conversion things going on, 100% item rarity, I'd probably just off the top of my head, I would guesstimate like 4 to 5 times better drops. The sweet spot for most players seems to be agreed that you want at least total 100% item rarity to ensure good drops. Now, you might be noticing my ring and my ingenuity. I have an ingenuity. I'm not bragging, but I am actually bragging. I didn't think I'd get an ingenuity. I didn't think I'd be one of those people who has a very, very good item, and yet here I am. This could be you having amazing good items like me, as long as you're able to play 10 hours a day. Anyway, so this 50% increase to item rarity of items, you're probably looking at that and you're thinking, well, that's the only well, here's the thing. Let's explain how to actually get high item rarity. Okay. Rarity from gear multiplies rarity from map modifiers. Now, let's talk about map modifiers. Can I look at my maps tab and see rarity? Well, shoot, because of course, waystone drop chance. Okay, so here we can see a map that I rolled up that has 91% increased rarity of items found in this area. This will multiply the rarity on your gear. So if you can roll maps with high item rarity, or I think Atlas's affects it, these precursor tablets can have item rarity on them. We can see one up here, 20% increased rarity of items. This would mean if I had a map with, let's say, 80% rarity and a precursor tablet affecting it with 20% rarity, and these added together, and these were 100% more rarity from the map, and I had 100% rarity on my gear, these wouldn't add together to 300% rarity. These would multiply each other. 200% times 200%, I would be getting 400% rarity. Yes, that's why it has heavily diminishing returns, and that's why it is actually way easier to hit the sweet spot of 150% than you are thinking. That's also why some people can be hitting 1,000% item rarity without really that much effort, and that's why some people are able to start actually getting divines, multiple divines per day. That's why some people are sitting, much like I was earlier, with over 1,000 exalted in their inventory because it's just that easy to roll that many exalted. One of the issues in the later game becomes liquidating all your items down into divines can start getting a lot of time. Okay. This means 50% more rarity from your gear and 50% more rarity from the map results in 225% rarity. This means you cannot skimp on rarity from your gear just to rely on rarity from the map. Some people did suggest you do that. That is stupid. Do not listen to them, and vice versa. It also means, despite the diminishing returns after 100%, you can get extremely high item rarity, hence the need for diminishing returns. I myself have 150% rarity from gear, then often 100% more rarity from maps. This means I often have an effective 300% rarity. Yes. That math checks out. Yeah, these multiply off each other. Now, I'm not saying you need to math this out perfectly. I'm not saying like you need to keep sitting here and doing math, but I would probably recommend at every given point in time, you have at least 100% of rarity on your items. Beyond that is also pretty good. There's also some rarity you can get from your Atlas map and things like that. I will be going over some Atlas maps later, but I'm not that familiar with the Atlas myself, so I don't want to go that much over it. Okay. The more modifiers a monster have, the more loot quantity and quality that will drop. The exact modifiers are entirely speculative at the moment, but it means that the more rare and magic monsters you fight, and with more modifiers, the better your loot will be, especially at the tier 15. This will also affect unique enemies, bosses. So if I go back into my tab here and let's see, can we look up modifier? Yes, so we can see right here an item like this. Rare monsters in your maps have a 21% chance to have an additional modifier. Now, these can also be found on maps. Let's see if I can find one here. Yes, okay. We can see this one got a Delirium modifier. Unique monsters have one additional modifier. So a unique monster, a boss, would have more loot drop and more quality. Here we have rare monsters have one additional modifier. That's another pretty good one. And here over here, we have another one. Rare monsters have an additional 1% modifier. Or sorry, one modifier. So tier 15 maps were increased dramatically. The drop rate was increased dramatically. I'm literally handing these things away to other players non-stop. There's just no need. I'm deleting any of the bad ones. I would highly recommend, this isn't the point of the video, but I would highly recommend, do not run bad maps. Just toss them. Do not die. If any map has elemental weakness, monsters get magic penetration, reduced maximum player weaknesses, toss that in the bin. Just delete it. Tell it, die monster. You don't belong in this world. Until the developers balance those modifiers on your maps, I would actually just consider them a no-go. Unless, of course, you're playing a meta Sparks build or something that never really gets hit by an enemy. Those modifiers are killer. You will roll enough maps once you get into the groove of things. Yeah, I would also, like what I do here, I have a maps tab. I toss my maps in here. I use this as a bookmark. Any map over here, of course, I have look through. So this one has quantity and rarity of items on it, which I'll get into later. Here we have quantity and rarity. Here we have quantity and rarity. Here we have quantity and rarity. Here we have 83% rarity. Here we have 101% rarity. Let's see, here we have 46% more magic monsters. Here's 94% rarity. Do you get the idea here? Okay, I would very much take your maps, kill any of the ones that roll bad modifiers, keep any of the ones that roll good modifiers, then go into your little maps tab here and chuck all the ones that have additional packs of Ezomite monsters. Yeah, just chuck those in the bin. You're getting shit from them. You're getting scammed. Those maps are scamming you. They are scams. I didn't list this right here, but I'm going to say that especially because with this next point, loot quantity is by far the best stat if you can find it, because it's so rare. Quantity multiplies everything I just discussed. This is because loot quantity increases all loot drops, which increases the amount of everything you get. That everything includes the good items because there's more chances for it to drop now that there are more drops for it to roll in. If you double your loot drops, you double the chances that one of those loot drops will drop as a divine orb. Item rarity is pretty common and easy to get, and you can, once you gear for it, can hit some pretty heavy diminishing returns, but item quantity does not seem to have diminishing returns. Even if it did, the amount that you can get of item quantity seems to be quite low. If we look again on my maps here, we can see 29% increased quantity. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, it's only 29%, but think about it. If you could increase your quantity by even, let's find a smaller one here, even if you got 10% more items, would you rather end your day with 10 exalted orbs or 11 exalted orbs? Or once you got really good at farming and putting down these precursor tablets, would you rather have 10 divine orbs or 11 divine orbs? Okay. Delirious also makes you take, Delirious makes you take more damage and makes you deal less damage, but also gives you more loot quantity and rarity or something. It's not very well understood. No one seems to have data mined this properly. Nobody really seems to have done much testing on it. In addition to the effects from adding Delirious itself will affect your item drops. So one thing a lot of people don't really understand is why would you buy Guilt? You can get 1 Guilt for 3 Exalted. It's pretty expensive, but you can see here, if I was to add Guilt, and that you do that by right-clicking it, by the way, you right-click Guilt, it opens up this thing. We put Guilt right there, and then of course, we can modify our map. I'm not going to do it, but we could see packs would have 24% more size. This means we have 24% more regular enemies to fight. Not too great, not too bad. There are, of course, some better modifiers out there, such as, where's my favorite? Paranoia. Paranoia adds 45% increased amount of rare monsters. So once our rare monsters have lots of modifiers and they have more quantity and they have more quality of loot, now we just add more of them to the map, and that dramatically increases the amount of loot we can get. So even though this stuff might be really expensive, once you get in the groove of things and you're playing a meta build and you never die, it can be worth doing that. Now, of course, the developers have made sure that Delirium is the most annoying piece of shit you can ever do. It has annoying music. It has an annoying enemy. Delirium is a femboy. I hate him so much, and I wish they would just remove the fog from the map. There is no need for that fog to be on the map. It is terrible. I wish it would go away forever. I do not understand what the developers are doing. It's the worst goddamn mechanic I've ever seen. Please, developers, listen to me. Listen to me. Remove it, please. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. Then, of course, the Delirious effect itself, in addition to the effects from adding Delirious itself will affect your loot drops. People assume that it increases, once again, item quantity and quality. So Delirious will make your maps quite difficult, but if you can get through it, then you are getting dramatically increased quality and quantity of drops. In addition, of course, to more rare monsters. You can see here, these maps right here, that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. What you're seeing right here is 60 exalted worth. This is 60 exalted of Delirious modifiers added to my maps. It's quite expensive, but it can be worth it. Here's something a lot of you don't know. Crisis fragments from the Citadels are considered waystones for drop purposes. This means stacking waystone drop chance will net you 2 or even 3 of them dropping. I have not seen more than 3 dropping. As you can sell them for a lot of exalted, getting an extra drop can massively increase your income from Citadels. Waystones are, of course, not affected by item rarity. They do not seem to be affected by item quantity. They seem to be affected primarily and only from waystone drop chance. So if you, for example, had a tablet like this with 20% increased rarity and 19% increased quantity of waystones, you could put 2 or 3 of these around a Citadel, do some towers, then you affect the Citadel with all these, and then when you go kill the Citadel boss, you could get up to 3 ancient crisis fragments or weathered crisis, things like that. You could get those from killing the Citadel boss, particularly if you use a map with a high waystone drop chance. For example, if I was to bring out, do I have any here? That's at 335%. I also put exalted on these maps, so actually looking probably more like 80 exalted maps right here. Ain't that funny? Yeah, the endgame gets a bit silly. Okay. Breaches are generally the best league mechanic on the map to increase loot. Bosses or Delirium are second, but Delirium only recently got buffed, so it's a bit unknown. Stacking bosses on the map is weaker than stacking breaches due to the fact that not every map can have a boss. Boss tablets also, on average, have much less affected maps than breaches, despite having item quantity drops from the bosses. So despite the boss maps being able to give you item quantity and rarity from bosses pretty typically, because boss tablets will typically affect like 4 to 7 maps, whereas breaches will typically affect like 5 to 10. This means that if I stack a bunch of breach modifiers and every single tile has a breach, and I can get potentially multiple breaches per map, that makes breaches by far the best loot mechanic in the game. Bosses, on the other hand, cannot be put on every map. I don't know why, they just haven't implemented it, and you are only affecting one single boss with your modifiers rather than often breach tablets. Can I see some breach tablets right here? Where are breach tablets? Do I have any left? Oh, here we go. We could have increased pack size on maps and increased pack size on maps and increased monster density from breaches. So the breach tablets generally affect the maps more often, and with some not great but decent modifiers, you can get item rarity from these as well. So breach tablets are generally just kind of the best. Okay. Would you like to see my face is blatantly and by far the best income enhancing mechanic you can obtain. If you can beat the simulacrum twice, beyond easy with meta builds, you will double your splinter drop rates. Now, of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about Atlas passives because some of them are inting yourself to not take. So once you beat the simulacrum twice, you get would you like to see my face. Delirium Fog in your map has double difficulty scaling with distance from the mirror and 100% increased stack size for simulacrum splinters found from non-unique monsters in your map. This means whenever you get 1 splinter drop, now you get 2. So if you're running Delirium maps, if you're putting Delirium on all your maps, you now get double forever with no downside. I make multiple divines per day, literally just selling my simulacrum splinters. Yeah, once you're getting like 60 per map, it's a bit odd. This will probably get nerfed in the future, but for now, there you go. For breaches, starting with sustained siege is a good way for people to make sieges easier and more profitable while they set up their build. From there, it is very profitable to grab Rising Pyre, as it dramatically increases your splinter drop rate. Meta builds can, again, completely trivialize this content. Maybe next season this stuff will be hard. So once again, if you're 2 points into a breach, the best thing you can do is go Frantic Invasion to Rising Pyre. Frantic Invasion, 75% increased quantity of breach splinters dropped by breach monsters in your maps. You take 20% more damage, but if you're playing a meta build, literally who cares? Then you've got Rising Pyre with 40% more monster density. As you might imagine, when you have 40% more monsters dropping 75% more splinters, this is more than double the amount of splinters. Even average or decent builds like mine will go from dropping 15 to 20 splinters per breach to like 30 to 40. It's a bit of a difference. And of course, then you can sell those breach stones. You can do the boss yourself if you want, or once again, we can be selling these off for some divines. Detailed Records is basically the only choice from Expedition Atlas for obtaining extra logbooks. If you're not really interested in logbooks, there's a lot of choices, but no one really cares about expeditions right now because they're boring and stupid. I'll go over expeditions slightly. You go this one, you get more logbooks. You can try to do more bosses to get more on this. Who cares? Expeditions suck. They're awful. They're not fun. They're stupid. They're dumb. They're dumb. They're dumb and they're dumb. They're just stupid and dumb. I hate them. Here, finally, is where I'd put information about the audience with the king, if I had one. If you ever meant to just luck out and somehow beat him twice on your first try, then get he approaches, so you can get more audiences. That would be right here. If after 22 hours of farming, I'd gotten a single audience with the king, I would probably have this. Well, no, I would need 2 of them, wouldn't I? I don't have any of them. If you do get an audience with the king, and you're not sure about your build, I would sell your audience with the king. Sell it. Why do you sell it? Well, if we go to our little friend here, Miss Handy Dandy Alva, everyone's favorite girl, we can see if we have a audience. Blind king? Oh, it's under owned. So we look at audience with the king, we can see that it sells for almost 8 divine orbs right now. Almost 8. So if you happen to get an audience with a king and you do not think that you can beat it, go to your ritual. It's always going to be a ritual. It's going to be an item. Looks like this. Sell that for divines. Don't try to do it yourself if you don't think you have the build for it. It will give you the money to get a build for it, which is ironic because now you don't have the item. Anyway, that's how I'd recommend you increase your item drops. That's how I'd recommend you do things. This is a good intro and tutorial to actually getting your items into the game. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for being here. Make sure to leave a comment, thoughts, anything you want. Did I get anything wrong? I spent about 2 hours this morning researching and, well, I mean, I spent a lot more time before this morning, but at least for this video, I spent about 2 hours making sure I did everything right in this video. So if you have any thoughts, anything I did wrong, make sure to put them down below. If you are like me and you are new to the game, this should dramatically increase your ability to get items so you can actually start participating in the economy. Kitty loves participating in the economy, and yet she is a socialist cat. Curious. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, everybody. As always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.